Howdy there, I'm Luxander. If you didn't know, I have this channel where I talk about stuff that I want to talk about, and lately I don't really have a lot I want to talk about, so instead I am going to be posting clips from my other show that I do. And The Line, if you're not familiar, we take calls. It's a call-in show network, and I was recently on the Matt Dillahunty show on Wednesday, The Hang Up with Matt Dillahunty, and it was a lot of fun. I'm not going to post the full clip here because I think probably my viewers don't want to watch like Matt having a back and forth with a transphobic person and muting them over and over again. If you would like to see that, I'll post a link to the VOD either in the description or in the cards up here. This conversation was about trans issues. A caller named Clyde called in and wanted to talk about, I guess bathrooms was kind of his thing that he started off with, was that, you know, I think that we shouldn't have males in the public restrooms with females, and like, this is against the rights of my daughter. Matt is trying to pin him down on how does trans rights impact your life at all? And it doesn't. It's like, oh, my daughter, whatever. So we kind of got on this conversation about bathrooms and everything. So that's kind of the preamble. I'm gonna only put in the parts really where like I am engaging, because sometimes when I'm on with Matt, it's easy for me to just be like, I'm so pretty, and then not really cut in. I do get my little interjections, but it's kind of fun to just watch Matt get really mad at the callers. So this is going to be starting somewhere midway through the conversation. I'm going to jump in and start trying to talk to him about this bathroom issue. So here we go.
So explain to me how a male with a penis has the objective right to go into a bathroom with a prepubescent female. It's not
a
right.
What female?
Period.
A what female?
Whether you're Republican,
prepubescent,
left,
I think is what you said.
You do not put males in a female bathroom. Period.
What did we do so this country was founded in 1776. There wasn't a single law stating, so there's never been a law. Like generally we have this like social thing where if the sign says women go in there, and if men go in. No, shut up for a second. Can you shut up for a second? I have not had an opportunity to say anything.
I don't give a shit about your opinion about moral rights.
In the bathroom with a female.
Okay, you're getting muted again because I wanted to say
you're
something.
saying you're opposed to trans rights. I don't give a shit if you think it's moral or not.
I'm trying to ask a question and come to a sense of clarity and understanding. I know that it's difficult to have a conversation with me after having a conversation with Matt, but trust me, I'm trying to like have a back and forth, and I really struggle with being interrupted. So I'm going to bring you back in. I'm going to give plenty of time for the beep so that you're back in.
There we go.
Okay, hands are off. Okay, you're back. Okay, thank you, Clyde. So there are so many different directions we could go with this, right? There's a million different directions we can go with this. We were talking about your daughter in the bathrooms. So when I was asking, I was leading up to a question. From 1776 until 2016, there has never been a law that says you're not allowed to go into such and such bathroom. So how did we exist as a society and function as a society prior to 2016? What would have happened to your daughter prior to 2016? Before all of the saving the children laws started to pass, the lawless Wild West country we used to live in. What are you afraid of?
Moral turpitude.
Okay, so you have a moral problem and not a problem with actual physical harm?
Well, the physical harm is definitely part of it, but I just believe if you are born a male, you're a male. If you're born a female, you're a female. Now, like I said, I've had friends that are gay, friends that are trans. I have no issue with them because, like I said, I am a atheist. I don't believe in a God. I am a conservative.
But you do subscribe to a fundamentally Christian worldview on this subject. You subscribe to a colonialist Christian worldview on this topic, a brand new ideology that was invented like 120 years ago, realistically.
So your ideology,
not right. 1,200 years, let's say.
Is not brand new?
So trans people have existed for all of recorded history. We have records going back like thousands of years of people existing as transgender individuals within society, modifying their bodies. The idea that being trans is like a bad thing, that's brand new. And the reason why you think that trans is brand new is because the Nazis burned all of the research about trans people during World
No,
War II.
I don't think trans is brand new. I don't think it's bad. My problem is a man with a penis shouldn't be in the bathroom with
okay, that has nothing to do with trans people. If you are opposed to men in those spaces, that has nothing to do with trans people. Trans people are not like committing 80% of violent crime. Trans people are overwhelmingly more likely to be sexually assaulted than they are to sexually assault someone else. So what is the problem? I'm going to jump in at this point because this is another moment in the video where Matt jumps in and kind of has another little back and forth. So this is so interesting that this guy says, okay, he doesn't think that trans people are brand new, and he claims he doesn't think it's bad, but also he claims that there's a problem with moral turpitude. Like, you think that being trans is immoral, or at least being trans in public around cisgender people is immoral, but you don't think that it's bad? I mean, I think that this is just like, these people have a tendency to desperately cling to plausible deniability for their beliefs, honestly. Like, the number of people I've spoken to, whether it's with Matt or whether it's on the Transatlantic call-in show, there is a huge number of people who aren't willing to just say, I think being trans is bad for society and like is bad for people. Because they'll do these things. They'll say like, well, I just want to protect women in sports, or, you know, I don't want the kid in the bathroom with my kid, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Like, so they try to obfuscate the conversation by claiming that they have a factual based argument against trans people in whatever way, you know, whatever. They want to justify their sports positions, even though the International Olympic Committee commissioned a study on this that found that trans women have a disadvantage. Anyway, and 20 years of participation in Olympics, and only one trans woman has ever participated, and she didn't even win any medals. Anyway, I hate the IOC. The president of the IOC just claimed, or just said, that they're going to maybe institute transphobic and intersexist policies again, and I am livid. I hate this planet. Anyway, so these people, and this is something that really, really gets my goat. It really upsets me. It's very annoying that people, and maybe I need to start cutting through the bullshit on this and not allowing people to get away with it. I guess this guy was at least willing to admit, I have a problem with moral turpitude. And I'm like, okay, so you have a problem morally, but there's no like actual harm happening. Like, you know, you're not basing your argument off of any tangible physical harm. Because that's another thing with this, you know, discussion is there actually any reason to be opposed to trans people in bathrooms, right? If there was some kind of crazy epidemic of trans people assaulting others, maybe we could consider a blanket ban, but even then, probably not. If there was an epidemic of cis men attacking people in restrooms pretending to be trans, that would not justify barring trans people from those spaces. In fact, if anything, I think that it just increases the argument that I would make that we need bathrooms to be integrated and better privacy for individual stalls. Like, I have been in bathrooms that are, you know, co-ed, or like we pulled over on the side of the highway once because there was a crazy storm and there were just men, women, and children hiding in these big public rest stop bathrooms, and people were going pee and stuff, and it just wasn't an issue, right? You know, we're fully capable of existing in an integrated society without these problems. So yeah, then Matt cuts in and kind of, you know, continues on this line of questioning, playing the mute game, playing the talking over each other game. This is a side note, but it does kind of feel sometimes as though people call Matt Dillahunty's show, or RN Raw, another one. RN and Matt have a tendency to attract callers who just want to have a pissing contest. Like, literally, they're just like trying to catch out these old guys, Matt and RN. They're trying to catch them out in a, oh, you made a mistake. Oh, I'm going to nail you on this. Oh, you need to admit that you're wrong. Or like, how could you keep talking over me? Like, literally, these men just want to have a dick measuring contest and like try to bully Matt and Aaron, like, I think that what they want is to get some kind of aggression out of their system or something. So we kind of run into a little bit of this where, this call in particular wasn't as bad on that regard, but it is something that I've just noticed as a little pattern. Like, some of the callers are not calling to have a conversation when it's Matt and Aaron. They're calling because they want to try to put Aaron and Matt in their place or something, is kind of how it feels. They're playing a dominance game, which is so fucking weird. Okay, we're going to re-enter the conversation with a little bit of a Matt back and forth here.
What mechanism are you going to use to make sure that nobody with a penis goes into the bathroom that you don't want them to go into? I'd love to hear that. What is your mechanism, Clyde, for verifying whether or not there's a penis entering the bathroom with you?
Obvious observation.
What was that?
Obvious observation.
I'm sorry.
You can always tell.
You can tell when somebody's got a penis.
Yeah, because I was trained that way.
Out of curiosity, do you think I have a penis?
No. Let me finish.
No, you don't get to finish.
Language.
No, you don't get to finish. We're just fucking clowning with you now, you dumbass. How are you trained to identify who has a penis? Does Lux have a penis? Do I have a penis? How can you tell? There's two of us here. There may be 0 penises, 1 penis, or 2 penis. How many penises are owned by the people that you're talking to, and how did you tell?
Schrodinger's penis.
Observation.
Okay, observation is not an explanation, dipshit. Tell me how you tell who has a penis and who doesn't.
Well, that's odd because 99% of the police departments in this world go by observation.
Yeah, no, that's not how you tell someone's gender, you dumb motherfucker. Observation. Are you suggesting, here, let me get this. When you say observation, Clyde, are you saying you get to look at somebody's genitals? Is that what you're observing?
No.
Okay, then how do you tell if somebody has genitals that you don't like?
Because I am trained in body language.
It's so hard for me to figure out which parts of this I should include. So I did just include, okay, there's a little back and forth between Matt and this caller where the caller is like, I've been trained since day one. I can tell if you have a penis. I'm there. I've got hawk eyes. I know what to look for. It's delusional. Like, it's so crazy. I guess he's thinking like, well, if you're walking in a certain way, I can tell. And I'm like, I walk like I've got bigger balls than most men. Like, I've got my fucking feet planted. I walk with a wide step. Like, I don't know. It's just so silly that you're like, well, I can always tell. Like, okay, whatever it is. And just playing the little game of like, do I have a penis? Can you tell? It's going to be really fun when I eventually get bottom surgery. Does anybody have $40,000? And I'm not going to play it. But then after that, they do get into a thing where I was wrong. Clyde does go like, you committed a fallacy, Matt. Boom. And they go back and forth about this. It's so weird. And Clyde kind of goes on and is like, I have the right to know who's in the bathroom with my kids. And like, yeah, just kind of making shit up. But then, yeah, I get to re-enter the conversation and try to bring it back to when there weren't all these laws. How did we handle this problem, Clyde? So, Clyde, when we're having a conversation about like how do we deal with trans people in society, the conversation is naturally going to come back to policy, which means like laws and rights and that kind of stuff. So, like earlier, I was trying to explain that until 2016 in the history of this country, there has never been a law that says a man can't just walk into the woman's bathroom and use the restroom. There has never been a law until 2016. So, and you said like you don't care about laws.
Enough, we never thought we needed one.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that for literally my entire life, probably both of our lifetimes combined, more than that even, all three of our lifetimes combined, trans people have in America been using the bathroom that they want to use. And there is not an epidemic of sexual crimes. There's not an epidemic of men entering women's spaces pretending to be trans women. What do you mean? Like the lack of crime statistics is the proof? Like
No,
we would
no, no.
know,
Where's
we
your
would know
proof
because
that
we study
trans
crime
women have been
statistics.
walking into women's bathrooms unabated? Where's your proof?
Because I know a lot of
Because
transgender
the
people.
trans women that I know will walk into a men's bathroom.
Maybe now because y'all are so
explain
violent.
that to me why the friends that I have a different view than yours. I'll tell you why. Because they're Republican, they're not Democrat. Because
You're not going to tell me anything. So here's the thing. Yes, right now, there is a culture of fear and animosity. So cisgender people are clued in now to what trans people look like. When before, even 15 years ago, people didn't know, they didn't look, they didn't care. So if a tall woman with broad shoulders walks into the women's restroom 20 years ago, nobody cares. She just is in there touching up her makeup and washing her hands and leaving. So the fact of the lived experience of like hundreds and thousands of trans people in this country for many years prior to this current level of hatred and animosity, which, by the way, is harming cisgender women more than it is harming transgender women. And that is something that I would like to discuss when I unmute you. We were talking about your daughter's safety. Since these laws have started to pass restricting trans people's access to bathrooms, the people who are being hurt by that are cisgender women who are too tall, whose hair is too short, or who are not wearing the kind of clothing that people expect women to wear. So how are you going to keep your daughter safe from being accused of being trans and being harmed, arrested, accosted, assaulted, yelled at, kicked out of a business because somebody suspects she might be trans?
well, that is nationwide homophobia, and I do not share that view. But what
Yes,
I
you
do
do.
share
Yeah,
is
you
the safety
do.
of my
You
daughter.
share the idea that you should be able to look at someone and ascertain whether it's appropriate for them to be in a specific bathroom. That's what's happening. There's two
Well,
situations that
yeah,
have
because
happened
I'm trained
at
to
a
do it.
Walmart. Hold on. Okay, just give me a second. 2 times in this country, there was once where it was a Walmart employee who was kicked out of. She was actually fired because a customer complained about her being in the bathroom, even though she was not transgender. She still lost her job. There was another situation where a sort of masculine, lesbian, cisgender black woman was changing her tampon in the female restroom, and male cops came in to accost and potentially arrest her. So, do you think you get to be posted outside every single bathroom? Like, are you going to be the vigilante out there? Do you think that your daughter should be subjected to that as she goes into a bathroom? Who do you trust to double check that your daughter is using the correct bathroom? Because that's what we get into this situation is like there's a problem of enforcement that you all are not interested in solving.
The problem of enforcement. Okay, well, I'll go this route. As a father, I watch where my daughter goes. I watch the people that go in after her. If I see something out of the ordinary, which most of the time I do, I go in and I pull my daughter out. How is that wrong?
It is wrong.
Is that
Okay, so are you telling
transphobic?
me, so what you're saying is there is a situation in which it is appropriate for a full ass man with a penis to enter the women's restroom?
Yes.
Okay, so you are just transphobic.
Yes.
Oh, I am. Even though I have
Yes.
friends that are okay.
No,
You
you don't.
don't.
You don't have any
You
friends.
don't.
You're a liar. You're a liar. You don't
You
have
don't have
trans
To
trans
friends.
agree with the
friends.
argument, I'll go for that.
You
But
don't have
my
trans friends.
issue
You're a
is,
liar.
as a
You're a
father,
liar.
I have the right
You're a
to
liar.
stand by the door and watch who
No,
goes
you don't.
in. If I
No, you don't.
So you
No, you don't.
think
You don't have the
you
right to
have the
be
right.
on the property. You don't even have a right
Yeah,
to be
that's true.
on the property. Your daughter could be in the bathroom, in a public bathroom, and they can kick you out of the building because you're an individual person. This is why you're a conservative, because you're too stupid to understand basic rights and liberties and how they're in conflict. This is why. You don't have the rights you think you do. And the fact that you sit out there with your smug, I'm an expert in observing. And if I see anything unusual when my daughter goes in the bathroom, I'm going to march in there and drag her out. Your ass needs to be fucking arrested. You hate-mongering piece of garbage. Sorry, I had to jump back in.
I'm
Welcome back.
hateful.
Yes.
How am I
Yeah.
hateful?
This is a hateful ideology that you have bought into, where you somehow think
No,
that trans
no,
people.
no.
No.
I want to
Give me a
protect
second.
my
Hold on.
daughter. That's it.
If you think, hold on. Actually, I want to come back to the example that Matt brought up earlier. The situation where your daughter is too young to go in the women's restroom by herself. And is it okay for her to go in the restroom? Do you go make all the men clear out? Or could your daughter be in the stall while a man is at the urinal? Do you think that that is a safe situation?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Right?
So that's the opposite of what you said earlier.
In retrospect,
Because
let me explain it this
earlier
way.
you started to say to Matt,
No,
I think what you started to say
let me
before he
explain
muted you
what-
was that, hold on, holy fucking shit. Earlier, when Matt was asking you this, you started to say, no, it's not a bad thing for my daughter to go in the men's restroom because most men, and then you got cut off. But what you were about to say was because most men are trustworthy and most men are not predators, just like most trans
No,
people.
that's not what I said.
Well, you got cut off,
If
so you
I
couldn't
take my
finish your
daughter
statement,
in
but we all know what you were going to
change,
say.
say her diaper, I'm there. So there's no issue. The problem I have is if now that my daughter is 10 years old, walks into a bathroom by herself, because obviously I shouldn't go, that there's a man in there, and I see somebody that walks in with particular tails. We'll leave it at that.
No.
Then
Let's not leave it at
shouldn't be
that.
my right?
No. Let's not leave it at that. This is the most important thing. No, you still don't necessarily have the right to do anything about it. But I want to know what the particular tells are. Clyde, what are the particular tells that you don't want to tell us about?
Well, let's see, the way they walk, the way they manoram, eyes, obviously Adam's apple. That's one of the biggest tells, but that's not always there because it can be
Basically what you're saying
removed.
is that you are going to take it upon yourself to be the guy who calls the cops on a woman who's trying to change her tampon.
See, here's the thing, Clyde, and no, you don't get to speak anymore. Even if you see someone going in that you think has an Adam's apple and, oh, you ran away, Clyde.
Oh, that's too bad. I was going to tell him I hate him and go fuck himself. I wanted to make sure to get that in. Oh, whew, okay. Whew. Okay, so Matt hung up on that guy. I do kind of wish sometimes that if I'm on with somebody like Matt, I do kind of wish that they would interject a little bit less when I'm in the middle of a line of questioning, which is I'm not talking shit or anything, whatever. It's literally Matt's show. It's the Hang Up with Matt Dillahunty. I'm not going to complain. It just is like when I'm on with Jimmy on Calling It Now, for example, if he's in the middle of a line of questioning, even if it occurs to me to say something, and I do interject sometimes, but a lot of the time I'm like, I can see that he is trying to drive somewhere in particular. He's going somewhere in particular, so I'll leave it alone. And I do find it kind of difficult if I am not in a position to continue my line of questioning in that way. Again, I'm not going to complain, but yeah, like, basically, it's crazy, this thing that happened with Clyde. He revealed himself. He revealed something essential, which is that the problem is with trans people and not with men. You know, he basically almost said before Matt cut him off that, like, I guess it was a little bit confused because at one point he was like, no, I would not take my daughter into the restroom with men. But then it seemed like he would, like, if he was alone with his wife. That was a fun little thing. It's like, well, whatever, my daughter always goes into the women's restroom with my wife. Like, do you literally never take your daughter anywhere without your wife, sir? Like, oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, he was saying that he thinks that he has the right to walk into a women's bathroom if he thinks something shady is going on with his daughter. So the problem isn't having men in the restroom. Obviously, the problem is having trans people in the restroom. And I honestly think that a lot of this ties into this belief that trans people are not earnestly trans. Like they are not what they say they are in that, or they cannot possibly be what they say they are. It's a delusion or it's a sexual fetish. And so, you know, cross-dressing in public, well, that's getting us to engage in your fetish. And like, you expecting me to call you ma'am, well, that's you expecting me to engage in your fetish. Oh, you want to be that way around children? Well, you are exposing those children to a sexual fetish and you're a pedophile. Like that's the conversation that is had around this subject. And this is what these people actually believe, right? Because I guess they think like, oh, I'm a good man, so I can go into the restroom. But this guy wants to be a cop. Like, he wants to be the police. He's trying to be like, yeah, I think it doesn't matter if I violate the privacy of 5 women if I go into the restroom because I think one of those women might be trans and I decide to accost her or get my daughter out of there. Like, he is literally the guy who will call the cops on a cisgender woman in the restroom, just like the example that I cited about, these were 2 instances at a Walmart, or different Walmarts, I guess, but it was a black butch lesbian, so like a black woman who looks kind of masculine, changing her tampon in the women's restroom, having the cops called on her, and then male cop entering the restroom. So we are creating situations where cisgender women are less safe. And now I want to be completely clear. It's bad already that trans people are unsafe in this situation. Like, obviously we are the ones being directly targeted. But just when we're talking to a guy who's like, I care about my daughter in the bathroom, you have just advocated for a situation in which a man can walk into the bathroom and potentially assault your daughter under the presumption that she is trans. So basically, like, in order for this to work, you have to teach your daughter, you cannot allow your daughter to have short hair. You can never allow your daughter to wear a sports bra. You have to make sure your daughter always wears super feminine clothing, super feminine gender expression. And even then, that's not a guarantee if she happens to have a pretty square jaw, you know? And so, yeah, it's just like, I know that there are a lot of different ways to argue this situation. And I know that some ways in which we argue this can ultimately be at a detriment. And I mean, you can't hit every single point. I even said it during this call. There's a million different ways we could go with this conversation. So I know that I'm not doing it perfectly every time, and it should be good enough that trans people don't deserve to be harassed in public. Trans people deserve public access. Trans people deserve to exist in public spaces without worrying. Trans people deserve to not have to hold their pee for 6 hours anytime they want to leave the house and run errands, right? It's ridiculous, the situation that trans people are being put in. But it also so happens to be the case that actually the people who get harmed by these policies more often, simply because there are more of them and more opportunities, trans women try really hard to pass. And they probably aren't going to use a public restroom if they feel like they're not confident in their ability to pass. Unless, you know, maybe you live in Portland and things are culturally a little bit different there, you know. But there is a greater likelihood that a cisgender woman who doesn't adhere to those standards is going to enter the restroom and get called out for it, get accosted. I've literally seen it happen in my real life. I used to work at a truck stop gas station, and I worked overnight with these 2 old women who were genuinely horrible fucking people. And one time, yeah, there was a woman who came in, and like, I don't know how this old bitch that I worked with missed this, but she was a fat woman with large breasts and really short hair. But I guess my coworker only saw her like from the back entering into the restroom, and she followed over there and was like, "Excuse me, sir, this is a women's restroom." And the woman from inside the bathroom, which I could hear from halfway across the store, was like, "I'm a female." It's like, oh my God, I could not have been more embarrassed of my coworker at that time. She seriously was such a bitch. Literally, oh my God, I don't even want to get into it. I had 2 older female coworkers in my first ever real job who thought that it was their personal job. Like, literally, they even told one of my bosses this, that they needed to take me down a peg. I was bullied at my first ever real job. God help me. Anyway, so I just think that this whole conversation is really stupid, and it just ends up harming the people that they are alleging to try to protect. But then ultimately, like, if you dig down into it, they also probably do believe on some level, and I've seen TERFs say this, that if cisgender women don't want to be harassed like that, like, why don't you just try harder, honey? Oh, okay. So you do think that gender non-conforming women and lesbians are in this same category. And I could have told you that, right? All of these politicians, like, it's very common, or at least it used to be in like the 90s, to accuse female politicians of being a lesbian or being a man. Like, that just by being in a powerful position like Hillary Clinton, for example, which by the way, fuck Hillary Clinton. But the point that I'm making is that people used to call her a man and a lesbian because she was in a powerful position. And I think that just is something that is going to continue to bear out, that the group of people who say like, oh, there's only two genders and it's defined entirely by your biology, are also going to continue to push cisgender women who don't meet those standards into the margins and basically say, well, like, yeah, you're no better than a shitty. Like, you should grow your hair out. Maybe you should try dick sometime, right? Like, this is literally, you're like less of a woman if you don't perform womanhood in the way that is considered appropriate. So, frankly, you could say that these restrictions and this kind of targeting is having perhaps an intended effect of also punishing gender nonconforming cisgender women. Anyway, woo! That was a hell of a conversation. So, if you're enjoying this kind of thing, please let me know. I don't really have a lot of creative energy right now. I've been pretty depressed. I mentioned that in my last recording as well. So I don't know, maybe this one's going to come out later. This was recorded in the same day. You would think that, oh, am I wearing the same sweater once a week? Probably. It's my new favorite sweater. It's so nice. Anyhow, so yeah, if you're enjoying this, please do let me know. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, just like this, without the whole doing a clips thing, let me know. Get those requests in. I will consider resuming some amount of political conversation on the channel like this. But if you want to hang out, which I am so into the idea of having just a chill time hanging out, I actually stream on Wednesdays and Sundays during the Matt Dillahunty Hang Up Show and the Matt Dillahunty Sunday Show. You have to choose between us. Anyway, so if you want a chill, relaxing environment where we do sometimes talk about politics, but we also just kind of talk about life and things that are going on and things like this, feel free to check out the streams. My baby, my Mr. Baby. Oh, you get a little visit from the boy right at the end. Oh, please do not hold, no claws in my sweater. Yes, you're a good boy. Yes, he is a sweet boy. Oh, what a good baby. Oh, baby, baby. Baby, baby, baby. Okay, I put you down now, you sweet boy. Okay, bye-bye. No, get out of my claws. Like, subscribe, leave a paragraph long comment because YouTube loves that. And I'll see you in another video. Bye, babes. Oh, shout out to my patrons, patreon.com/Luxander. Thank you. Thank you so much to my patrons, especially Diago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Untitled One, Pinky Bimbo, In a Box, Sarah A., Amanda B., Michelle Winter, Athiette, Nova, Danielle McDonald, Kevin Young, Suzanne Maynard, Liam Hodgson, Jamie Jam, Michelle Frateroli, Logan, Celeste, Mr. Atheist, Wellington Marcus, Desi Quiche, Nadia Yvette Chambers, Ing Marie, Ali T, Kawaii Esquire, Bo E, Art, and Neurospiky.